I left school at 15 and I got a job as an apprentice joiner until I was 21. I then got a job as a joiner at Sheffield Health Authority. I was based at the Royal Infirmary. There was 5 benches in the workshop. We'd got a table saw in there and we used to cut all the sheets up in that, plywood, blockboard, whatever, and we used to cut asbestolux on that. This new product which was a little bit safer than asbestos. When the sun was shining, you could see particles of dust, and like you looked around at shelves and other things on the wall, they were all piled with dust. There was no ventilation, so it was forced to get like that. You were going into places to repair things. It might be a damage on a ward, but when you went, you'd got to go underneath to find out what was wrong with it. On these corridors, there were a lot of steam pipes, and some of the asbestos lagging on them was damaged. But the worst place was, off these corridors, there was conduits about 1 metre wide by 2 metres high, and they went under each ward with all the pipe working for the services into the ward. With it being so cramped and narrow, the pipe work had got damaged. And you were treading on it, you could feel it under your feet. Asbestos, we presumed. You also took it as being debris and muck and dust that had been accumulated over the years. It must have been when I was coming up to 29. We all went to this lecture, engineers, electricians, painters and us, and they told us about this asbestos. There were different colours and the different types it was. Until that point, we were not bothered about asbestos. After that, all these conduits were all closed off, and if you went to go down there and work, you were provided with overalls and a mask. Just before lockdown, I must have been retired for just over 20 years. And I was getting a bit gaspy for breath, and I couldn't work this and I couldn't do that. And I was really slowed down, and I'm thinking, no, this is not right. So I went to see my doctor. Then he says, I'm sending for your x-ray and see what happens. Anyway, I went back to the doctor in 7 days, and he said to me, you've got some white deposits in your lung. I'm going to refer you to pulmonary rehabilitation. I got an appointment from Professor Fishwick. He says, you have got asbestosis, and also you've got pleural plaques. So you will find that your breathing will slowly, gradually get worse. This is caused by a long-term exposure to asbestos dust. There's no cure for this. You just have to try and cope with it best you can. I took it on my chin and said, right, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know whether I'm going to live a long time or not. But I've just got to try and live with it. And I went home with my wife. She was saying that you've got this, it's not curable, you've got to cope with it, and you've got to get on with your life, which is not easy. And that's where it hit me, really. It's not so much having the diagnosis and the asbestosis and me breathing, it was what it's going to do to the rest of my life now, which I didn't think was going to happen. And I got plans, and I was doing things, and I wanted to carry on doing it, even though I was a bit breathless. It takes a long time for it to sink in that you're limited to what you can do. I found if I sit, I'm feeling comfortable and right, but I shouldn't be. I should be doing something and getting off my backside and doing things that I'm capable of doing, even though it's putting me out of breath. It doesn't make no difference. It's going to be like that anyway. I've just got to cope with it. If you want to have a life, it's not going to be the life you had. It's going to be another life that you've got to build. You have to adapt. If you don't adapt, you're never going to move from the position you're in now. If you adapt gradually, your confidence will build up where you're going to have a better life. You need help. You can't do this on your own. There is help out there. I've found it now, and there is good help. Gradually, over the last 12 months, I can do quite a few of the things I wanted to do, be it not as easy, but I can do them. And that's made me feel much, much better. I've got a life. I've got a life, and I want to get on with it.
When I think about my childhood, they were good years for me. So you build up a resilience in life that says, I can carry on my own. So I left school at 16 with an O-level in art. And then I started working in a doctor's surgery. I'd also met my first husband by then. And it was a nice exit away from home. Well, I started nursing at ground level. So I spent 2 years on basic SEN training and then trained in theatre work. And then went on to do a registered general nurse training, which made me a staff nurse. I was a matron then, through to director of nursing in surgery, and then to commissioning and looking at international recruitment. You have to be directed by yourself. Nobody else helps you on this journey. So I met Michael while I was working, and Michael was very quiet, but quite challenging towards me. We actually shared things that I'd not shared with other people. So we took a year's journey in faith with the Catholic Church, and after 12 months, we actually got married in the Catholic Church. It gives us a central bond beyond what a lot of couples probably experience. So whatever happens from there on, we were going to be together. So I retired at 54, and I needed to have something that was still recognising me as an individual person, not a wife of a husband. So I went to college again, and I learned about textile art. I suddenly realised that actually I'd learned a great deal. I could start teaching people this. And then I started taking over the house with sewing machines and things, to the stage where I was really pleased I'd married a joiner. Every time I wanted something, Mike was there to do it for me. And now we've got a lovely group of friends that come every week to see us. Most of the time it's chatter, but I do teach them as well. I was first concerned about Michael when we were in Japan, actually, on holiday. He couldn't get up to this Buddha temple, and I thought that was unusual, very unusual. When we came back from holiday, he went to see his GP, who had said that he'd got asbestosis. Over the next 2 years, it progressed significantly. Michael couldn't do things that he would normally do without thinking. I didn't expect to have to start caring for Michael so soon. I feel as though I've come out of retirement from nursing, and I'm into a caring role now. Michael accepts that I will deal with any health issue that he has, and I will direct care appropriately. I'll just get on with it. Michael is aware of how his diagnosis affects me, because I'm being restricted in living my life the way I'd like to live it. I live it in a way that accommodates Michael, which is different. Everything's got to be thought about. You can either stand still with a problem, which you can't do anything about, or worry about what you've lost, or you can say, no, we'll move forward. And I encourage Michael to do that with me in order to keep going into life and living life. Yes, we'll adapt to his needs, but we will live life. I don't like being called the carer, even in jest. I am my own person. I am a wife. So we've created a family around us, this circle of friends who are so important to us and help us every day, emotionally. When anything happens to Michael, I know that they will support me, and I do not feel as though I would be on my own. It's important to keep your personal independence, doing things that you want to do, because people cannot just live for others. They need to live for themselves. You need to have a continuation of your life when anything happens to your partner. You need to have something in life that makes you look forward. And as I make Michael look forward each day, I need to be capable of being independent.